Durant appears headed to Brooklyn. Kevin Durant, according to multiple media outlets, will announce tonight that he is going to sign a 4-year deal worth $164 million to go from the Warriors to the Nets, where he will be teamed with Kyrie Irving, who is set to be at the Nets practice facility within the hour to announce that he is going to the Nets on a 4-year, $141 million deal. Multiple media reports saying tonight it won't just be Durant and Kyrie, it'll also be DeAndre Jordan joining the two as the frenzy has gotten going. Free Agent Fever, presented by AT&T, is live on the air on NBA TV. Tom Penn. The Czar is in the building.
Yeah.
What's new, guys? Anything like this lately?
I'm Jared Greenberg, and we have got 50 minutes until the official start of what is set to be the most historic free agent class in NBA history. And it appears one of, if not the biggest domino, has already fallen. Coach Fratello, let's get your take here with Kevin Durant reportedly on his way to Brooklyn.
My first question would be, why? I would love to know what the reasons are, which it's a personal thing, obviously, whatever's going on inside his head. But think about this for a second. We have two of the greatest players in our game today, both of whom have been unhappy with the last two teams that they've been with. And now they're joining forces in Brooklyn. And I sit there and say, okay, sitting out for a year, I could go back with Golden State where I've had great success. But if you're not happy with where you are and you think that the grass is green on the other side, then you roll dice. And he'll be rolling dice for 4 years, but playing basically 3.
Coach, you have worked on the Nets telecast for many years. Can you put into perspective for us how big of a night this is for Sean Marks and this franchise to be able to land two of the marquee names in a class full of marquee free agents?
I just think of the suffering that they were going through from when they left New Jersey to when they went over to Brooklyn. I was part of all that in the transition, doing their games. Then when the big deal came down and they acquired the 3 players from Boston, which was supposed to lead them to a world championship. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. But what did happen is they were wiped out of first-round picks, and they were a team that left with very little, if any, hope of being successful for many, many years. And to their credit, Sean Marks, hiring the right guy, Kenny going in and doing the coaching job that he did, and staying the course. Sean Marks surrounded all the positions that they had, that they identified what they wanted to do. They stayed the course. Ownership and changing hands, the power shift in ownership from Prokhorov, moving on after that. This thing has turned out sensational. And I'm just thinking this year, what the fans are going to be like, knowing that Kevin Durant's there in a suit, not playing, but after one season, then he joins this group. They're going to be incredible.
It's a huge win. This is the way it's supposed to be in New York City. New York City is supposed to be a destination, a glamour destination for free agents where they can get their act together and contend. You hit on all of it. It starts with the change in ownership, with Joe Tsai coming in as the new owner and a new direction. Sean Marks as outstanding decision-making. To your point, it was hopeless. And they declared what they were going to do, stuck with it, and hired Kenny as a great coach doing it the old-fashioned way with fundamentals, and we're just going to play gritty, real basketball. And that becomes appealing for two of these glamour free agents to pick up the phone, talk to each other, and say, I'm in, you in, yes, yes, and they both come. It's a game changer for New York, and it's Brooklyn just saying we own this city now from a basketball standpoint.
Let me ask you about something Coach Fratello mentioned. Both Durant and Kyrie have butted heads with the media. There is no larger, more intense media market than New York. How do you think both of them deal with all of the scrutiny that's about to come their way?
I don't know. That part's going to be interesting, right?
That's easy to solve because they've put all these people in all these other positions in the program. I mean, they have a teacher, coach, person in charge of every area you can think of. Forget massage and taping ankles, okay? The psychological part of it, who travels with the party, their meals that are planned. This is a matter of sitting down, and it's Media 101. Welcome to New York. This is how many newspapers cover us, how many radio stations, TV stations. Let's go over the scenarios Because as we all know, certain guys come into New York and they can do it. They're fine. They make it. They play big. Other guys come into New York, and I don't care what sport it is, whether it's football, basketball, or baseball, they can't handle New York. The pressure's too great. The microscope makes them too large, too big, and they can't handle who they are in New York City. They need to go back to smaller markets.
Well, I think these two guys can handle it. Durant has been there, done that. He does tend to get in these little grousey, unnecessary fights with the media. Expect that to continue, I would think, although not for the year because he's not going to be playing. And I think Kyrie can handle it. Both players have been to the finals. They've been through the bright lights. This isn't, like trying to figure out if R.J. Barrett can handle it in New York, which people think he can, but he's an unproven rookie. These two, as veterans, proven. Do you think they're coachable in that area of things? Do you think if you had the best media relations guru that either of these guys would, at this phase of their career, change?
Well, first of all, I don't really feel that Kevin Durant has ever really been a problem with the media. Some things that he said here and there where he goes back at a guy, it's only because of where media is nowadays, how many outlets we have to media to get blown. If this was like 15, 20 years ago, nobody would have even known that he had a remark for somebody who asked him something he didn't feel was a good question.
Well, but Coach, it is 2019, and he has had a burner account, and he does go back at people on Twitter who talk about him.
A little bit.
These people who have 150 followers he's arguing with.
A little bit.
Things he does.
But so this professor of media that they're going to sit down with, whoever it is, okay, well, I would think will present alternatives to them. They'll say, well, this is the type of question that'll be asked, and that person may have to be with them the whole season because, as we know, during the season, different crises arise, and they'll say, hey, going into today's press conference, expect them to ask you questions about this. Here's how we can answer them. We can handle it this way, or this way. You want to be safe, or you want to go out on a limb?
Let me point out something, too, about Kyrie Irving. While his family did commute often, from what I've been told, to Boston over the last couple of years, to have his family around him close to home. He grew up not too far away from where the Nets play their home games. That certainly could be an added advantage to him to have that comfort of people you're familiar with. Let me just quickly, while the big story here is Kyrie and Kevin Durant, I just quickly want to point out some other news. Shams Charania of The Athletic is on fire right now with a couple of big pieces of news here. We'll get back to Kyrie and Durant in a moment, but let me tell you about Terry Rozier, who has been a backup in Boston. According to Shams of The Athletic, Rozier will go to Charlotte as part of a sign and trade deal that the Celtics will reportedly agree to. So Rozier, this has been a big triangle here, and maybe we do ultimately get that three-way sign and trade, which we talked about at the very beginning of our show, with the Nets, the Celtics, and the Hornets, where Rozier will go to the Hornets, Kemba to Boston, and Kyrie Irving to the Brooklyn Nets.
Wow, that's big. It's sort of like shuffling the deck chairs or shuffling positions, but doing it in sign and trades has a significant after effect where the Celtics may now retain the flexibility with another player like Al Horford if they're able to acquire via trade Kemba Walker and they get something for Rozier going out. So that's interesting. That could mean that I think it's most significant for the Celtics.
Right.
I think it's important for Charlotte because at least they get a replacement player that they otherwise wouldn't have gotten. And, man, these dominoes are falling fast.
Let me give you another one here quickly. According to Shams of The Athletic, Rudy Gay will be staying with San Antonio, where he had I think, under-the-radar, sensational year last year with the Spurs. According to Shams, Rudy Gay gets 2 years, $32 million to stay in San Antonio. And he's one of those guys we're looking at when we're looking at Kevin Durant, right, in terms of coming back from a ruptured Achilles tendon.
Yeah, I was blessed to have a guy named Dominique Wilkins who played for me many years ago in Atlanta, and he's one of the guys who came back from an Achilles tendon. He did play in the NBA and furthered his career, then went over to Europe to finish up his career.
How different was his game when he came back?
Well, when I had Dominique, it had not happened yet. And then when he came back, he wasn't the same high-flying Dominique Wilkins, but he got back to that. And you know what happened? He became an even better three-point shooter after the fact because he wasn't trying to jump as high. His balance was better. Okay, his fundamentals became better, and he was able to survive it. Now, I may be in the Guinness Book of Records for this one. How many guys have coached two brothers in the NBA that both of them tear their Achilles tendon? because I had Dominique's brother, Gerald Wilkins, in Cleveland, and he tore his Achilles tendon.
I did not know that.
How about that? I could get in
With
for
all
something.
of the names around the NBA today, the one name I didn't think we'd ever get to was Gerald Wilkins.
That's interesting.
We got him in.
You know, back to Rudy Gay, he's not a high flyer anymore. He was when we had him in Memphis. He was in his early phase of his career. Now he relies more on skill, which he's developed and honed over time. Similar to Durant, such a high skill player. Each of them should come back from this Achilles and still be very impactful. But that's significant for San Antonio because when you look at their roster with Golden State now closed and the West wide open, San Antonio keeping Rudy Gay is an important piece to their effectiveness. And look at them. They're right in the middle of everything again.
You know what it's time to say?
No.
What up, Beck? We're going to do it when we come back. Howard Beck from Bleacher Report joins us to talk about the Welcome to Free Agent Fever, presented by AT&T. Jared Greenberg, Steve Ashburner, Tom Penn. We're about to send you off for the evening, but how crazy is this that Kevin Durant reportedly heading to the Brooklyn Nets on a 4-year offer?
Well, it's fascinating, and I think it's very welcome, not only by those of us that have to report this stuff, that we have some real grist here for the mill, but also the other free agents and their agents and the teams, because all the dominoes start to fall rather quickly. I mean, I'm thinking back to 2014 where we were in Las Vegas before LeBron James made his announcement through the Lee Jenkins story that he was actually going back to Cleveland. So this is fast.
Let me give you this update, too, from ESPN. Not only are the Nets getting Kyrie and KD, but also DeAndre Jordan is going to join them, according to ESPN, in Brooklyn. We also mentioned Garrett Temple going to Brooklyn as well.
Man, they've been busy. Look, this is a huge, huge victory for the Nets in terms of the plan worked. And this was a plan that came from the real ashes. They didn't have any first-round draft picks. They traded them all basically to the Celtics. They built the team the old-fashioned way. They created this identity that was appealing enough for Kevin Durant to get on the phone with Kyrie Irving and say, "You in? Yes. You in? Yes. Let's announce it right away. Let's get it out, and then let's get everybody to come with us." So Garrett Temple says, "Okay, I'm in." DeAndre Jordan says, "Heck yeah, I'm in." This is the idea of New York finally being realized in the modern era because the Knicks could never get their act together enough to do it. Brooklyn got their act together. Brooklyn is on the rise, and this will be a big deal in the big city.
And what does it say about the way Sean Marks built this culture with the foundation of we're not going to tank, we're going to try and develop young players, we're going to put in a coaching staff that can develop and grow these players, and all while clearing the space to make us one of the most attractive destinations right now, the most attractive destination it appears in the NBA?
Well, the fact that they didn't have total control over their draft picks makes tanking a lot less appealing, right? I mean, in a sense, that trade they made after Pierce and Garnett and those it didn't pan out, you know, that forced their hand. They had to take this approach. So I think it is a good sign. It's one of the reasons that I feel bad for the Charlotte Hornets, because my friend Rick Bonnell, who covers that team for the Charlotte Observer, you know, he doesn't see any alternative to tanking now for the Hornets. And to go from what they were aspiring to as Michael Jordan's franchise to a tanking team in a small market, that gets awfully forlorn. It really becomes a sad situation.
Look, there's so much focus on trying to build a championship team, you know, like this, it's championship or bust. There's a certain element of just building your team the right way and playing the right way and trying to actually just win. And they did that. This is a testament to that, to doing it the old-fashioned way. You hire a non-glamorous coach who just knows how to coach and is going to establish fundamentals. And you do it with a bunch of young, hungry players that are trying to establish themselves. And you build good habits and you build good chemistry. And then Kevin Durant goes, that's interesting. And Kyrie Irving goes, oh, you got enough room for me too? and they make that aggressive Allen Crabbe trade to move his $20 million away to Atlanta. They give away a draft pick to do it, and lo and behold, look at what happens.
Spencer Dinwiddie, who got paid in season by the Nets, he'll be sticking around, we believe, has taken to Twitter and given us some indication. What movie is this from?
A-Team.
Oh, the A-Team.
Yeah, that's the A-Team right there.
The
Love
Nets,
it when a plan comes together.
Unbelievable. The Nets looking like they're getting Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, DeAndre Jordan. You don't have Kevin Durant for the first season with the ruptured Achilles. How much of a player are the Nets now, and how much of a player will they become, Ash?
Well, we have yet to see what Kevin Durant will be when he comes back, what kind of player he will be.
Worth the risk, though, for the Nets?
Definitely worth the risk, no doubt about it. I mean, if you get Kyrie in there now and you bring Kevin Durant back and everybody is bought into the whole thing about promise and potential and where that team is headed, while the Knicks are apparently not, yeah, I think it's very much worth this.
I think they're on the path to being pretty darn good this year. I mean, they're going to be a playoff team in the mix. They've upgraded their best player, their best active player in Kyrie Irving. If DeAndre Jordan comes, he's a real deal center. We know he can't shoot free throws and has other issues, but he can sure block shots, rebound, run, and have fun.
And he'll probably still come off the bench with Jared Allen.
Yeah, Jared Allen's a great young big, and then you've got LeVert, and you've got Dinwiddie. You've got a lot of core players, plus some depth beyond that you've seen in the other graphic. So they got a team. They got that same core identity, and they're not done yet, right? We'll see who else comes.
Better day. Go ahead, Ash.
Are these guys they're bringing in Kyrie and KD, are they going to make those other guys better still?
Right.
That's the other thing. I mean, they'll develop on their own, but they could become better players by virtue of simply being with those stars.
Better night for the Nets and their fans, or worse night for the Knicks and their fans?
It's the afternoon. The night hasn't even started. I think this is the ultimate taking of New York. To do this on day one, it is an acceptance of Brooklyn, and it's just a condemnation of New York, because the New York Knicks were all in. They put their chips all in with this plan, and they're coming up zeros on day one.
Let's go to this angle of it. We talked about it a little bit earlier on when we had Michael Scotto joining us. Remember that trade 6 years ago, which many have deemed the worst trade, most lopsided trade in NBA history, when the Nets and Celtics got together? Okay, as we look forward into the 1920 season, 6 years later, who's in better shape, the Nets or the Celtics?
I still say it's the Celtics.
Yeah, I like the Celtics too. I mean, they, in a sense, a negative goes now with Kyrie leaving. They had a pretty good bunch there 2 years ago, and they showed in the playoffs when Kyrie was hurt, some of the potential that they had, and I think that the friction there took them a step back. But I do think that they still have more assets and are more ready.
But we keep on hearing about the Celtics' assets. We keep on hearing about Danny Ainge lining himself up to make that big move. He couldn't pull the trigger to get Paul George. He didn't pull the trigger to get Kawhi Leonard. He hasn't been able to get Anthony Davis in that big trade, right? So at what point do those assets just become a talking point rather than a reality?
Well, he's burned through a lot of them. There aren't many left. Now it's a question of getting that core you referred to, getting Young and Brown to become and Walker to become what they had in McHale, Parrish, and Bird.
But the point of it is, look how quickly things have changed for the Nets and their fortunes, right? Kyrie Irving, even with the issues he may have had in Boston last year, and Kevin Durant going to be out for at least a year with a ruptured Achilles, we're still looking at the Nets franchise totally different today than we were just a few moments ago, Tom.
For sure. This is a game changer. It's not at the cost of Boston, though. That's sort of why it's hard for me to make the analogy. And you can't forget the last 6 years of pain that was caused as a result of the transaction that didn't work out. But as far as a fresh start, a new direction, a game-changing day, this is significant in Brooklyn.
Ash, final words?
Yeah, I guess I'm out of here. Thank you very much.
You don't have to go home.
It's a net gain. Why don't we just go with that, right?
Oh, I like that. Is that the headline? A massive. The biggest day in Nets history. The reports tonight, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and DeAndre Jordan all going to Brooklyn to join the Nets. The frenzy has officially gotten underway with less than an hour to go until the official start of free agency 2019. This is Free Agent Fever presented by AT&T.